Hey everyone, we're going to take a look at an exercise that's about multiplying out the brackets. And I chose exercise 14 because here there are also fractions inside the brackets or outside the brackets which can sometimes frighten you a bit. So let's take a look at why this shouldn't frighten you in the first place. First, what was multiplying out the brackets? Well, that means that I'm going to do 6a times 3b and 6a times half c. You can also put the lines underneath if you want to. Sometimes I like to put them right here because now I can write down my calculation underneath. And I really like to write down calculations underneath because then it's much more clear how this expression evolves to my final answer. So I must multiply 6a times 3b. That's multiplying out the brackets, right? 6 times 3 is 18. A times B is AB in alphabetical order. Then 6a times a half c. Well, if you multiply with a half, some of you might find that easier. You can do 6 times a half, and most of you will say immediately that is 3. And then ac. What you could do if you do 6a times a half c, right? 6a times a half c. You could now instead write it, if you want to, like this. 6a in the numerator times 2, and then you c is here. And you even can put it in the numerator. Then you do 6a divided by 2. 6 divided by 2 is 3a divided by 1c. Yeah, 3a divided by 1 is just 3a. C. That's a very complicated way to understand how this can work if you use the rules for multiplying with fractions. Sometimes we need this a bit though, when the fractions get a bit more elaborate. Let's take a look at B. Same rule apply. So you have to multiply the thing in front with the first thing in the brackets and with the second thing in brackets. So a half p times 4q. First multiply the numbers. A half times 4 is 2. If you want to, you can write it down as an intermediate step as well, right? A half p times 4q plus a half p times 8s. But you don't have to. P, q. Plus, and the same thing applies here, a half times 8. Most of you would know that's just 4, right? Multiplying something times a half just divides it by half, makes it twice as small. PS, and here we are done because PQ is not the same as PS, they're not like terms. There was the case here as well, right? I'm done here. I cannot add those because AB is not the same as AC. I do want to take a look, however, at F as well, because I think at F some of you might struggle because of the more troublesome fractions. So we're going to multiply out the brackets. Here I'm going to write down this intermediate step first, because this makes it a bit more readable what I'm exactly doing. So that's the first thing that I'm going to calculate. 2/3 PQ times 3R. And I'm going to calculate 2/3 PQ times 1.5 S. What I could do is I multiply the numbers in front, right? So I multiply 3 with 2 over 3. And if I did that like this, then you could say that's the same as this, right? Because 3 is the same as 3 divided by 1. And then we said, well, multiplying two fractions is numerator times numerator and denominator times denominator gives me 6 over 3. Or you could say that's 2. Right? So that's the intermediate step. I think here I would write down first this 6 over 3. P, Q, R. Just put the letters in alphabetical order. Plus, here I do the same, but I first write down 1.5 as a fraction. That's 3 over 2. Then 2 over 3 and 3 over 2 is going to be 6 over 6. 6 over 6 PQS. Right? So here you can evaluate this 3 and write it as a fraction, and then numerator times numerator, denominator times denominator. Here I write this mixed number and convert it back to a fraction. 2 over 3 times 3 over 2. Here I'm not done yet, because 6 over 3 is the same as 2, PQR. And 6 over 6 is the same as 1. But I don't write down 1 here, right? Because 1 times something is just that thing. So I write down just PQS. Okay, so maybe you have to practice this again a bit, multiplying with fractions, but that's okay. A bit of arithmetic never hurts. Good luck, and if you have any questions, ask them in the lesson.